Today we talk about the most savage one percenters that ever lived. These are the bikers even police feared. Their victims range from rival club members to their old ladies, car bombs, shootings, green lights on prison guards, and massacres. These men were made for most wanted posters. Let's get into it.
We run the night, we run the night, run.
Big shout to the ghosts and the ghostettes. Welcome to Demons Row TV, the holy grail of MC culture, where we cover everything motorcycle and motorcycle club involved. I'm Sos the Ghost. I'm your host for the evening. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. Let's talk savage. Number 1, Wayne the Hammer Kellestine. Wayne Kellestine's name alone sends chills through the outlaw world. If we're talking about the most savage one percenters that ever lived, he's on that list without a question. In 2006, Kellestine staged one of the worst betrayals in motorcycle club history. What was supposed to be a Bandido meeting at his farm in Ontario turned into an ambush. 8 of his own brothers, not rivals, not enemies, were lined up, humiliated, and executed. One by one, their bodies were found stuffed in cars, dumped in the Canadian countryside. This wasn't war, it wasn't retaliation, it was cold-blooded paranoia mixed with power. And here's the part that cements him as one of the most savage. Witnesses said Kellestine enjoyed it. He laughed about it like it was a twisted ritual. The Shedden Massacre wiped out the Bandidos' Canadian leadership overnight, leaving a bloody scar in outlaw history. And that's why Wayne the Hammer Kellestine will always be remembered as one of the most savage one percenters that ever lived. Number 2, Ralph Marlboro Waldman, Breed MC. Ralph Waldman of the Breed Motorcycle Club made his mark in outlaw history back in 1973, not in a way that could ever be forgotten. That summer in Pennsylvania, tensions between the Breed MC and their rivals, the Pagans, were already high. Then, Waldman and his brothers spotted Michael Trump, a rider who had once worn Breed colors but left to join the Pagans. In the outlaw world, this is the root of why a lot of these things happen. Witnesses say the Breeds chased him down the highway and cornered him at a gas station. That's when a single shot ended it. Ralph Waldman was identified as the man who pulled the trigger. And in that one move, he sent shockwaves through the scene. The Breeds didn't just leave. They stripped Trump of his colors on the spot. It was a message to every rival in the region. 2 years later, Waldman stood trial. He was convicted of first-degree murder, robbery, conspiracy, and more, and sentenced to life in prison. Number 3, Anthony Snodgrass Spencer, Comanchero MC. Anthony Snodgrass Spencer of the Comanchero MC wasn't just an outlaw. He was the man behind one of the his days in biker history. And this is why he earns his place as one of the most savage one percenters ever to do it. Spencer split his own club in two, turning brother against brother and igniting a war with what would become the Bandidos. The war exploded on Father's Day, 1984, at the Marlboro swap meet. In broad daylight, with family and kids everywhere, Spencer led his men into a full-blown gun battle. When the smoke cleared, 7 people were gone, including a 14-year-old girl who had nothing to do with the outlaw world. Most 1% violence stays in the shadows, but Snodgrass brought it to the mainstream for the whole world to see. His decisions left Australia scarred forever, and that's why Anthony Snodgrass Spencer of the Comanchero MC will always be remembered as one of the most savage one percenters to ever live. Real quick, people always ask me, how are you almost at 1 million subscribers? Can you teach me how you did it? I put together videos in one package that if you followed it, you will make 6 figures. And if you put a team together, you will make 7. A lot of these suit and ties that teach pay agencies $30K a month to manage their YouTube. I did it myself. Check the link in the description. I guarantee you will win. This isn't just mindset bullshit. It's strategy. Now let me get back to my content. Number 4, Mark Leroy Denkler, Gypsy Jokers MC. Mark Denkler of the Gypsy Jokers isn't a household name, but when we're talking about savage one percenters, his story needs to be told. In 2015, Denkler set out one of the most brutal outlaw hits in modern MC history. After his girlfriend was robbed, he didn't call the cops. He did what one percenters do. He called his brothers. Together, they kidnapped the man they blamed, Robert Huggins. What followed was so vicious, prosecutors later called it medieval level brutality. The victim was beaten, strangled, and left in a field outside Portland. This was a message, a show of power that reminded everyone what happens when you cross the Gypsy Jokers. Years later, the feds came down hard. Denkler and several others were convicted on racketeering and murder charges. And in 2022, he was sentenced to life in prison. Number 5, Lauren Campbell, Hells Angels MC. Lauren Campbell is one of the most dangerous outlaw bikers Canada ever produced. A lifer who rose from Satan's Choice to the Hells Angels and ran chapters in both worlds. He joined the Satan's Choice as a teenager, stayed through the chaos, then patched over to the Hells Angels in December 2000 when Ontario clubs flipped en masse. He went on to serve as the president of the Hells Angels Sudbury chapter. For decades, he was the kind of enforcer who handled club business personally. In his Satan's Choice days, he built a reputation as a debt collector, the guy you didn't want showing up at your door, and even admitted in interviews and his memoir that he'd use a baseball bat to get his point across. Then there's the infamous Port Hope 8 case. Back in 1978, a Satan's Choice rival named William Heavy Matayak was shot dead. 8 bikers were convicted. Years later, Lauren Campbell took the stand and swore that he was the one who pulled the trigger, not the men serving time. The courts rejected his confession and the conviction stood, leaving the case one of the most controversial in Canadian biker history. Campbell's own record speaks for itself. Assault charges in the 70s, multiple trafficking cases in the 80s and 90s, and in 2011, he was convicted in a conspiracy that put him behind bars again. That same year, he quietly retired from the Hells Angels in good standing. Savage isn't just body counts, his longevity in the life, doing the dirty work, and surviving decades of war, prison, and patch politics. Lauren Campbell checked every box. Number 6, Frank Letty, Loner's MC. Frank Letty is one of Toronto's most savage outlaw bikers because he didn't just wear a patch, he built them. After starting with the Satan's Choice, he founded the Diablos MC in 1983 and later co-founded the Loners MC, 2 clubs that stamped their names on Ontario. Over the years, he moved through multiple crews, Satan's Choice, Diablos, Loners, Rebels, and at times aligned with the Bandidos. He wasn't just a builder, he survived the life. In 1995, a car bomb nearly killed him. In 2008, he was shot 6 times and refused to cooperate with police. Those attacks didn't end his influence, they added to his legend. Letty would go on to shoot Hells Angels Sergeant at Arms David Dredd Buchanan and wounded 2 other HA members. He later pled guilty to manslaughter and 2 counts of aggravated assault and received a 6-year sentence. Letty also had reached beyond the biker world, documented ties and sit-downs with top figures like Hells Angels boss Walter Stadnick and Montreal mob players, which kept them central in Ontario's underworld for decades. Founding clubs, surviving assassination attempts, killing a full-patch Hells Angel, and playing chess with mob and MC power brokers. That's why Frank Letty belongs on any list of the most savage 1%ers to ever do it. Number 7, Harry Taco Bowman, Outlaws MC. Harry Taco Bowman wasn't just president of the Outlaws MC. He was a warlord who made the patch feared from coast to coast. What makes him the most savage wasn't bar fights or small-time beef. It was the way he ran his club like a battlefield. Under his reign, the Outlaws didn't just retaliate, they annihilated. Taco ordered bombings of rival motorcycle clubhouses. Imagine pulling up to a spot where your brothers were partying and within minutes the place is a fireball. That's the kind of chaos he unleashed. He had men tracked, hunted, and executed simply for wearing the wrong patch in the wrong city. These weren't random acts of violence. They were calculated moves designed to erase competition and expand outlaw control. Snitches? Taco had a zero tolerance policy. Anyone who cooperated with police didn't just vanish quietly, they were made into examples. Fear spread so deep that even prosecutors admitted witnesses were terrified to testify against him. That's savage. And it wasn't just local. Taco ran things on an international scale. The FBI put him on the 10 most wanted list, charged him with racketeering, murder, and bombing. He wasn't just a biker. He was orchestrating full-blown wars against clubs like the Hells Angels. Harry Taco Bowman built a reputation where if you crossed them, you weren't just risking a beatdown, you were signing your certificate. That's why his name is cemented in history as one of the most savage one percenters that ever lived. Number 8, Yves Apache Trudeau, Hells Angels MC. Yves Apache Trudeau is a straight up savage because for him, blood was business. In the 70s and 80s, he wasn't a patch politician. He was a working hitman for the Hells Angels, nicknamed the Mad Bumper and the Mad Bomber. He didn't posture, he straight up produced. When the Angels needed a problem solved, Apache handled it. And he was so effective that the club even lent them out to other Montreal power players, the East End Dubai Brothers crew and the upstart Irish Mafia in the West End. Turning hits into a service he could provide on demand. What sets him apart is his scale and method. Apache didn't just shoot rivals in bar fights. He specialized in planned elimination, close-range executions, wired explosives that made enemies disappear. Then comes the coldest twist of them all. After narrowly escaping an assassination attempt while he was in rehab, he flipped. He turned informant and confessed to 43 killings. 43. That puts him among the most prolific in history. And every one of those bodies says exactly how far he was willing to go for the patch and for the profit. Even as a witness, he was chaos. On the stand, he was so unreliable that cases fell apart and prosecutors stopped using him. That's savage in a different way. A man who terrorized the streets for years, then jammed the courts when he finally talked. Bottom line, Yves Apache Trudeau wasn't loud, he was lethal. A Hells Angels hitman who did contract work for other crime families, stacked up a crazy body count, and then flipped when the heat closed in. Efficient, ruthless, unforgiving. That's why Apache belongs on this list. So let me know what you think about these in the comments. If there's any other topic that you want me to cover on the show, I've been doing this for 5 years, so I'm just trying to be as creative as possible. So if there's stuff that you want to hear about, let me know that in the comments. Make sure you share this on your socials, and thank you for tuning in to Demons Road TV, the holy grail of MC culture. Like, subscribe, and comment. No, yeah, we ghosting, baby.